What's up everyone, welcome back to Switchcraft and welcome to part 2 of the official Zelda Timeline series where we go, according to Nintendo, over the official series of events and how each of the games we love fall into them. For the record, I'm getting all of my information from the official Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia released only a couple of days ago by Nintendo. If you haven't seen video 1, I recommend you check that out, as I'll leave a link to it in the description, and it's kind of important to the timeline and series of events. And before we get started, be sure to share this video with a friend if you've ever met someone, or if you yourself have been wondering where everything fits in the Zelda Universe timeline. The last video, we left off right before the first split of possible timelines, the end of the Ocarina of Time. We had a look at where each game fell into the series of events from the beginning of time until that battle with Ganon we all remember. But did you know that the rest of the Zelda entries actually depend upon whether or not we won? If we were to have lost the battle in the Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf steals the Triforce of Wisdom and Courage and transforms into the Dark Beast Ganon. The 7 sages, including Princess Zelda, seal the unified Triforce and Ganon in the Sacred Realm. Fighting erupts throughout the Sacred Realm, and the 7 sages seal the entrance and Ganon in it. We arrive at the first game post an Ocarina of Time alternate, with the absolute classic SNES game, A Link to the Past. Ganon has transformed the Sacred Realm into the Dark World and plots his revival in the Light World. Our character, a descendant of a clan of knights, defeats him and recovers the Triforce, returning peace to the land. And it was a great thing that he did. Before the adventure we went on in A Link to the Past, when fighting erupted throughout the Sacred Realm, it was known as the Imprisoning War. It ushered in a new era of impoverishment across Hyrule. Its people and resources are largely spent warring over the Sacred Realm. A sanctuary is built, and historical documents are stored in its library to ensure history is kept and studied. Unlike in the alternate timeline of the Twilight Era, which we'll talk about in part 3, Hyrules Castle Town does not prosper. The people of Hyrule live frugally in order to survive, and fill their days with distractions, like bars and simple amusements. Thankfully though, by beating A Link to the Past, we all brought peace to the Sacred Realm and sealed Ganon away once again. We then had the first game to release and not take place in Hyrule. Link's Awakening for the Game Boy and later the Game Boy Color, our hero departs on a training journey and washes ashore on Koholint Island. I won't spoil the end, but in case you haven't played it, you gotta make your way to the end and find out everything there is to know about the Windfish. During this time, the island has become the target of nightmares attempting to overtake the dream world, and the Windfish is unable to wake, its soul fading. It creates a version of itself inside its dream, and in the form of an owl, awaiting the form of a hero who will wake it. As it slumbers, the wind around it kicks up, creating a massive storm. The very same Link from A Link to the Past is caught up in the storm and marooned on Koholint. You're guided on a quest to help the Windfish wake itself. Post Link's Awakening, we have the Oracle of Seasons and Ages, where a young man visiting Hyrules Castle is whisked away to realms of trials known as Holodrum and Labrynna. Guided by the Triforce, he becomes a hero and stops what would be another revival of Ganon. After these events, and before our next entry in this timeline, we have the Triforce which splits, and pieces of which reside in the legendary hero, Princess Zelda, and Ganon. Following A Link to the Past, we have the next game to return to Hyrule, using a similar art style on the 3DS, A Link Between Worlds. The sorcerer Yuga, from a parallel world known as Lorule, targets the Triforce. Yuga awakens the soul of Ganon in Lorule, but Link manages to defeat their combined form and unify the Triforce once more. This leads us into Triforce Heroes, again departing Hyrule and taking place in Hyopia. Hyopia is north of the Kingdom of Hyrule, and it's a land governed by everything fashionable. The differences in language and traditions between the two kingdoms are minor, but emphasis on fashion over swordsmanship defines the culture of Hyopia like nowhere else. They save Princess Styla, who was cursed by the Badland witch lady Maud, and her entire body is trapped in tights that she cannot remove. Styla shuts herself in her room, and the kingdom falls into deep despair. A rumor begins that being fashionable will get you cursed. Hyopia, which is very dependent on its fashion industry, finds itself in serious trouble, and the king sends out an announcement calling for heroes to lift the princess's curse and return Hyopia to its former glory. I gotta admit that in my opinion, this was one of the weaker departures from the traditional Zelda canon and storyline. I guess problems just don't ever get as serious in this northern neighboring kingdom. But much goes on in this universe before the next entry, beginning with the King of Hyrule using the Triforce to make his kingdom prosperous. When the king dies, Princess Zelda refuses to tell her unworthy brother the location of the Triforce of Courage. She is then put into a cursed slumber. During this time, the kingdom declines and its borders recede. This sets the stage for the game that began it all in 1986 and introduced us to one of the greatest video game franchises ever, The Legend of Zelda. While Hyrule is small and vulnerable, Ganon awakens. The Triforce of Power is stolen. Princess Zelda splits the Triforce into 8 pieces and hides them. A new young hero, who is well known by now, gathers them and defeats Ganon. Directly after the events of The Legend of Zelda, we have The Adventures of Link, which follows the boy who defeated Ganon as he takes on a series of trials left by the old king. He obtains the Triforce of Courage, hidden in the Great Palace, and awakens the sleeping Zelda. The 3 pieces of the Triforce are unified in the Kingdom of Hyrule. That second Zelda game ever made marks the end of the timeline to date of a series of events starting at the beginning of time and highlighted by Link losing to Ganon in that fateful battle at the end of the Ocarina of Time. While I'm glad I beat the Ocarina of Time, I'm also thankful that there is an alternate universe where our hero lost the battle, as it not only gave us timeless, classic titles, it was also in a roundabout way the beginning of this epic saga. That's as far as we'll go today. And I think we've answered some pretty big questions. We can now draw a direct link from the beginning of time and Skyward Sword all the way to the adventure of Link. In the next episode, we'll finish things off and look at the second timeline split, following the story of both child and adult Link through time, assuming the end of the Ocarina of Time that most of us are familiar with, stabbing Ganon in the face with our Master Sword, and becoming the triumphant hero we're all familiar with. Make sure you like this video and hit that bell down below if you're subscribed so you can get notified exactly when the final video of this 3-part series is ready. It's gonna be epic. It's a great day to be a gamer. Switchcraft out.